Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and today I'm so excited to be talking about the fantastic TV series Cruel Intentions. And I'm joined today by cast members Sarah Catherine Hook, Zac Burgess, Savannah Lee Smith, Brooke Lena Johnson, Sara Silva, John Harlan Kim, and Khobe Clarke. And Sarah Catherine, I wanted to start with talking about your portrayal of Caroline, because when we first meet her, we see this real drive of ambition and, lust for power that she has, particularly within the sorority. But I love how quickly the series digs beneath the surface and really looks at where a lot of that stems from for her. And especially when it comes to the legacy of her mother and her family and all of that history there. And so what was that experience in developing how you were going to play her on that side of things, but always looking at what was the motivation beneath it?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was so interesting to be able to come into this with like a fresh take. Like Sarah Goodman and Phoebe Fisher, our showrunners, really wanted us to come in like with our own voice. And not only that, like we might be playing like stereotypes of people. Like Caroline is definitely like your quintessential queen bee or mean girl, but they always wanted her to be a real human and make sure she's grounded. And I think with all of those like elements of the relationship with her mother or like her brother and like all of these past issues for herself, I think that really helped humanize her a bit. And like for me as the actor, that as well, like I felt like I was able to kind of have more empathy for her because of all of these things. And instead of just like always playing this like sparky, like cutthroat, like power hungry girl, like they're underneath it all, like is a real person. So as an actor, like that's really helpful and exciting because it's not like I have to just like play one note all the time. And like we have a whole TV show, 8 episodes to expand upon that.
No, I love that answer. And especially for you, Zac, in playing Lucian as well, I feel like there's all these like little backstory elements as to why he treats people in a very transactional way and, why he's kind of afraid to get close to people. And in particular, when he talks about feeling like his dad treats him like a financial transaction or one of his trust funds. And so how much did that backstory and the relationship with his dad really give you in terms of how he's in turn treating people the way that he's been taught?
Absolutely. I think it was intrinsic in finding who Lucian was and moving through his behavior. And it wasn't just Lucian's father, it was also the relationship that he has with Caroline and Caroline's mother, and then also Lucian's own mother. It was a big influence, and it created a lot of shifts at certain points throughout the series.
It's great. And Savannah, in talking about Anne a little bit, I feel like we meet her at a point where she spent so much of her life being perceived through the lens of who her dad is and what his job is. And because of that, she's never really had that much of a chance to really figure out who she is outside of that. And I love kind of your portrayal of getting to really see her look inward and try to learn a lot more about herself. And so as the series progressed, how did you really want to open her up a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. Going into it, I tried to think of, what does it mean when you've been looked at with like a magnifying glass your entire life and expected to kind of stay on the straight and narrow for so long. Annie definitely comes into it, trying to find herself and find where she fits in this heightened reality of, Greek life and power and money and all this, but really, like at her core, she's just trying to be her own person. One of the things that I really wanted to bring to Annie was that, though she's 18 and she's like the new girl, and doesn't quite know what's going on or how she fits in yet, she is smart enough to clock kind of what's going on, she straight up said to Lucian, I know what you're doing. So good luck. So I wanted to, bring that to light. Like most times when we see young characters, they're only that. But with Annie, I wanted to make sure that, you knew she was still smart and she kind of sees what's going on.
Absolutely. And Brooke, in terms of Beatrice, she's the one that really wants to create this entire takedown of the sorority and the fraternity space. And I feel like we see so much of the way that the other students treat her in a very dismissive and look down on her in a lot of ways. And so how did you want to use that with the idea that she's got this really big cause that she's gung-ho about, but that actually it comes from a really personal place of hurt?
Well, yeah, I think anyone who's kind of ever been an outsider, I think really relates to Beatrice a lot because I think she's kind of been scorned by these people and burned in the past. And so it's that fine line. And I think we're dealing with this world where no one's really good, no one's really bad. And it's that fine line of the morals behind it of is it really revenge or is it that she truly believes in what she fights for? And I do think she does really fight for what she believes in. And I don't think she would go through it to the point that she does and all the hiccups and obstacles along the way unless she truly believed in it. But I think she's a very dynamic character as all of these characters are. I think the cast does a phenomenal job of really like fleshing out these characters and making them believable and human at the core of it. And so I think that's what viewers really get to see. But I wanted her to have that vulnerability with her as well too, that I mean, she's been burned and what do you do with that? How do you kind of rise above that? And how do you take that and use it as motivation to push you harder? But you know, you see her take it out on herself too, and not so great ways if anyone's made those decisions before. So yeah, she's really fun to play.
I love that. And Sarah, in terms of CeCe, it's almost heartbreaking to see how much of a people pleaser she is against the way that everybody just constantly puts her down. You know, every single thing that she says to Caroline, she's kind of immediately squashed. And then she starts working as a teacher's assistant for one of the teachers. And, you know, even to the point where when he first compliments her, she immediately apologizes, thinking it's a put down. And so for you, how did you want to really open up a different side of her once she has someone who really sees her potential and appreciates the way that she thinks about the world that nobody else does around her?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like even just hearing you talk about that, it almost like brings tears to my eyes to think about how CeCe just like cannot see her worth. And like honestly, I think that's kind of just like a personal journey for me because like I'm also so deeply insecure. And so going through that was interesting and definitely cathartic. But yeah, I think having those moments with Sean, Daddy Chatty is what we call him. Were so exciting. I mean, yeah, I think everyone has a lot of love for CeCe because you definitely want to see her step into that. And so it's really fun with Sean to kind of have those intellectual conversations and be seen. And, you know, she's so repressed, but you can start to see her open up a little bit. And I feel like she's going to become a beautiful butterfly one day. Yeah.
John, one of the things that I really appreciated in watching your performance of Blaze is just the adaptability that you bring to him. He is someone who fully knows what situation he's in, what the power play is, what the power grab is. You know, when he is around Scott's dad, there's a very different side of him. It's much more formal. He's standing a little bit taller because he has this idea of, I'm going to come work for you when I graduate, and I've already laid the groundwork. And so how did you set about finding that adaptability in him and the way that he really molds himself depending on what he's trying to get from people?
Right. Yeah, he's a little weasel. Every move is full of intent. Every smile is a weapon. Every wink, every action is playing at something. And so it was cool to be somebody who operates in the dark and sort of maneuvers and schemes and sort of is very mischievously devious and conniving in a way that I like to think I'm not. And so to sort of play the adaptability of it, it was really taking what the other actor was doing and sort of just molding myself around it. So opposite John Tenney, the wonderful, talented, handsome Khobe Clarke, Sarah Catherine, Zac Burgess, any of these lovely ladies, Sara Silva, Savannah Smith, Brooke, Lena Johnson, I could go on, Sean Patrick Thomas. Everybody. Liam.
What about Claire?
Claire Forlani. No, it was a take and receive approach with Blaze because he doesn't set the table. He sits at the table and he decides what he wants to eat. And that's sort of something that I had to sort of hear their voice first and then catch onto their cadence, their tempo, and sort of meld into that. So that's how I think I come across differently in each dynamic and interaction and relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great terminology. And Khobe, with your portrayal of Scott, I love his energy and his positivity that you bring to him. You know, we learn that he's gone through something quite traumatic, and his looking forward is just, I don't remember it. I don't need to dwell on it. I just need to think about what's coming up next and what else is going to be great. And so what was that process for you, and really just tapping into and finding that really, really, really specific energy that he has?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, Scott is very different from the rest of the cast, and I felt maybe responsibility is a strong word, but when you kind of carry some of the weight being the comedic relief, there is a specific tone separate to everyone else that you have to take part in. And I think there's an incredible presence to Scott. He chooses to see the best in everybody, and he doesn't want to dwell on yesterday or tomorrow. He's very with you in the moment, and I appreciated that about him a lot.
Yeah, he's got this really lovely golden retriever energy to him almost.
Yeah, I describe Scott and Blaze's friendship as if a golden retriever befriended a rattlesnake. It's very yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's cute.
Sarah Catherine, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about is just the kind of poised stillness that you've brought into your portrayal of Caroline as well, because it's really interesting to watch how she holds her power, and it's almost this physical manifestation. And she's someone who knows that she doesn't always have to say the most words in the room. You know, she doesn't have to tell other people. They just automatically gravitate towards her, wanting to know when she speaks, what is she going to say? And wanted to ask about how you really mastered that and found that in her.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That's really cool. I have a lot of people to credit for that. First and foremost, Michael Ground, our costume designer, he gave us all of our beautiful clothing. And I would say, honestly, the 6-inch Valentino heels that he put me in every single day really informed her posture, her walk, all like the snake-like quality, or like just the cougarness of her. Even, I mean, it also came in, the essence of Caroline, like, was discovered in my director callback session. Like, that was kind of the tone that we landed on, that we knew it was, she was this quiet observer, like always kind of stalking her prey, and that like almost like she's just bored of everyone. So with all of those little pieces, like I just kind of was able to bring that to life, just knowing like if CeCe's like rambling in her ear, she's like, honey, I know all of this, but I'm not even gonna say it. Like, I'm just gonna let her ramble, and I've got other things turning in my head, and then I'm gonna execute, and you're just gonna come with me. So yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. And I'm glad that that's what came across on screen.
It's such a great point, though, about the costumes as well. The costumes in the show are so wonderful to look at.
Divine.
And so for the rest of you, were there any particular costume details that you found really helped you to find your characters?
Yeah, when I put on my 6-inch Valentino heels for the day, I really found his voice. Yeah. No, Michael Ground's he's a beast. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's so fashionable, and I think all of us have a debt of gratitude to him, because to have put those clothes on, which we don't I wouldn't say for me, I typically wear those types of brands and those high-end deals. I think it's easier to not be yourself. So Michael Ground, huge credit to him. I think he's basically a character in the show. The clothes are a character in the show.
Definitely.
They are for sure. I know, like, stepping into clothes like for Beatrice, like, changed the game for me.
Yeah.
But it's so cool, you know, because we're wearing all these like high-end brands and things like that, and she is, even though it like
that's probably like anti-consumer. She's like wearing all the brands.
Like with a headscarf that's, you know, $500, and you're like, interesting. But like, I think as like an actor, when you step into the like clothing of your character and you're able to talk with these like amazing costume designers on it, like the whole team was amazing. And like, as soon as I stepped in, it was like, oh yeah, this is it. I get it. Yeah. So you're on set already being like, I know the walk, I know the feel, the mannerisms just come. And so, yeah, I think you're totally right about the costumes. I think it sets the whole tone for this entire cast for sure.
And Sarah, on the opposite end of the spectrum from Caroline, CeCe just has this really fervent energy to her. You know, she's filling all of the space with her dialogue and constantly trying to tell everybody everything that she's doing to kind of get that approval. And so wanted to ask about just finding her energy and just working with the text and finding that pacing and rhythm for her as well.
I mean, yeah, it was an exhilarating ride for sure. I feel like everyone can attest to this when I step on set as CeCe, like the positure's up. I don't shut the fuck up. I'm talking like a mile a minute, even like when we say cut, and I am just moving. Like I feel like I just do like laps around the set to just keep the energy up. Just never stopping because I feel like CeCe didn't stop. Like I feel like she just has so many things that she needs to do and she's never good enough. So she just needs to keep going and going and going. And so I think that really helped me find like, just the character. And it was really fun. And yeah, on costumes, they were like no heels because she's moving, she's on the go. So I feel like I was like, oh hell no, my legs are gonna look so stumpy all the time. And it's true, I'm just like a little duck, like a little duck. Yeah, literally with my loafers, like about loafers, everyday loafers. But it was cute.
It was cute.
It was cute.
And that was one of my like favorite things about working on the show, honestly, was watching you get into the character and drop out of it.
And then just like, yeah.
Anyway, yes, cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, there's a duality there for sure.
Definitely.
It's great. And Zac, in talking about Lucian a little bit more, there's kind of almost this playfulness to his energy in the way that he tries to make sure that people don't get close to him and don't really look too closely. The first time when he goes over to Annie's room, he's constantly picking things up and playing with them, and you're really kind of like moving all the objects around as a distraction. But I feel like she's someone who's able to really crack beneath the surface and bring out this other side of him and allow him to be a little bit more vulnerable. And so once that starts to happen, how did you really want to shift and change the way that you were playing him in certain scenes?
Oh, it was huge in some aspects because he's this larger than life, conniving, fun. I don't know. I almost described him like an ocelot at one point. He's just this mischievous, sexy, cool dude who, he's constantly creating distractions and creating mischief. And there's a couple of points throughout the series where it really shifts and you really see beneath his skin and you see more depth. He's a man with a really, really broken heart in some regard. And it was incredible to be able to work with Sarah Goodman and Phoebe Fisher to dive into those spaces and figure out exactly what motivated those decisions and what motivated those emotions to come across the way that they did. And I was incredibly thankful to be able to work with Savannah in those situations, and she's an incredible actress. So creating that, absolutely, creating that dynamic on screen was a real pleasure.
And Savannah, I mean, you were talking before about how there's this element of, I know exactly what's going on and I'm not going to buy into the game. But then we do see Annie become very disarmed by Lucian in a way that really surprises her. And so it's really fun to see the push and pull that's constantly going on inside. It's like the logical side of her is like, absolutely close the door. But then there's this curious intrigue and disarmament that's like, maybe leave it open just a crack. And how did you kind of develop that scene by scene and really looking at where she was at with him at any given time?
Yeah, it was really fun to play those shifts. Yeah, I definitely would say that, Lucian is a complex character, and I think Annie sees that complexity. I think maybe that's something that attracts her to him. But I think the main thing that draws Annie to Lucian is that her entire life she's never been able to color outside the lines, and then here comes this boy who does that just every single day. And it's like, nothing but never colors inside the lines. So I think she's excited by that and intrigued by it because he encourages her to, take risks and find herself and try to find herself in ways that she would never dare, She's a vice president's daughter. She shouldn't be breaking into anyone's home. But, when Lucian invites her, it's like, maybe.
Do you think she's scared?
Think about it.
Scared of, no.
She's not scared.
I don't think she's scared.
I think she's scared.
Wait, scared of
I'm interviewing now.
Scared of getting what?
No, scared of, getting caught up.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely there's
with
definitely
a scary guy.
absolutely there's
Yeah.
definitely hesitation.
Been caught when they
Feeling
break in.
scared.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely hesitation there because she knows that it's probably not for the best.
That's a great idea.
You know, but
That's-
But isn't that what you do in college?
that's what's
You take
exciting.
risks. You have to take risks.
Yeah.
I feel like you're
You
scared
took
on her
risks.
character's behalf, Sarah.
She's like, you should be scared. You should be scared now.
Was she scared?
No, I was hearing, echoes of my own.
I love it. Give me something to think about.
Khobe and John, I also wanted to come to the two of you and just really talk about building the dynamic between your characters, because it's interesting to look at the different intentions that they each have against each other. They have this history and this closeness, but we're never quite sure if for Blaze it's genuine or if it's just part of his power play and kind of a path to his dad at times. And so how did the two of you set about figuring out the chemistry and just the play that's always at hand in their dynamic?
Well, yeah.
I mean, I think Scott and Blaze are kind of this example of one side of it is someone accepting themselves and getting closer to their identity, while the other side is an example of someone drifting further away from it. So it's kind of, there's a heartbreaking nature to the one side trusting and then the other one manipulating. But I mean, he's an incredibly generous, talented guy, and so building that rapport was almost automatic from day one. Even from the Zoom chemistry read, it was never a challenge.
I originally actually read for Annie, and my acting coach Sara Silva had me play it scared, which is why I think we didn't get the part. And then they said there's this character Blaze who's he's trouble and he's manipulative and he's deceitful, and we feel like you're that. So they put me in a chemistry read with Khobe, and it was magic from day one. Like, he's so easy to get along with. I feel very fortunate to have worked opposite such a talent before he blows up. So enjoy your interview time with him while you have it. He's handsome, he's tall, he's so easy to look at. And we had a great time. Yeah.
Wow.
He's out. And he's off.
Get back here.
and with both of you, Sarah, Catherine, and Zac, there's such a complicated chemistry with your characters, with the fact that they're step siblings, and there's this very physical chemistry that she's always kind of pushed back against, but also really utilizes as a tool to get what she wants. And so, what was that experience for both of you, and just really figuring out all the layers of that?
Well, we had an intimacy coordinator who actually, I don't know if you remember this, but she did something really interesting in one of our sessions where she kind of she basically made us fall in love with one another just by staring at one another and gently just brushing each other and experimenting with that kind of physical interaction. Not because it's just close enough. We never fully get there. So it was playing with little moments like that I felt really enriched our exploration of the characters together.
CeCe is an incredible intimacy coordinator, and a big part of the sessions that we were having was around breath work.
Right.
And there's something incredibly sensual about
just breathing, honestly.
Absolutely. And so for me, it was pretty transformative being able to step into a space with Sarah Catherine with this unspoken relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was just magic.
Yeah.
And it's very different to the chemistry and the dynamic that Lucian then has with Annie. And so you, Zac and Savannah, I wanted to ask about developing that as well, because it's more of a vulnerable intimacy that the two of them start to discover.
Yeah, no, Savannah, absolute props to her. She took my shit from day one. No, I was exploring the character a fair bit, and I was being pretty mischievous behind the scenes. So it was a lot of fun being able to build that rapport with her, and it for me it's so easy to just step on screen with her and be able to play with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, he said it,
He said it.
the jokes, the banter, the teasing, all of it. Yeah. But no, Zac is incredible to work with. It felt it was easy to explore that aspect of our characters and their relationship because I think we just already felt comfortable with each other. And, you know, playing off of Zac gave me the opportunity to like play in general, you know. And Casey, we had Casey too, and she's, you know, she's amazing. We did, you know, countless exercises where we, you know, just got comfortable in each other's spaces and, you know, in closer vicinity to each other and all of those things. But yeah, their relationship is definitely very different. I think that Annie, for some reason, allows Lucian to look inward and then express it, which he never does with anyone else. And he's able to be vulnerable with her, still in his Lucian way. And then I think with Annie, she's able to be vulnerable with him because, you know, he's encouraging her to explore herself. And that builds trust, I think. I think that early on, which is funny because Lucian is kind of the one character that Annie's like, I literally don't trust you. But throughout the course of their relationship, trust really becomes kind of like the main thing that keeps drawing them together.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like so many of you were bringing up Sara and Phoebe, your showrunners on the series. And it sounds like they were really instrumental in figuring out a lot of these details for you all along the way. And so for all of you, just wanted to ask about what were some of the key details or components that they really helped you all to find?
Well, I think for me, like stepping into, similar to the question you asked just before, where it is becoming more of an intimate relationship between Lucian and Annie, it was a big shift for me because, as I said before, it was totally different to earlier in the series. But I remember a really key integral moment. I wasn't quite getting a scene, and Sara was like, "We just need you to listen. Don't worry about anything else. You don't need to try and do anything. Be present in the moment and just listen to what Annie has to say." And that was huge for me. It was insanely transformative in that moment. And no, I'm incredibly grateful. We've had such supportive and amazing showrunners.
Yeah, I think they were super helpful just in general of setting this tone so that I felt like we could all just walk onto set and play. I mean, we're in this very kind of taboo and in this scandalous world, and that's really hard to navigate when you're trying to figure out these characters and how they interact with one another. But since they set this vibe on the set and they knew exactly what they wanted and could see in us, and I think they really knew how to help us pull that out so that when we were interacting, we were able to explore that in a really safe and smart kind of perspective on it. I don't think it was very one-sided at all. I think it was very collaborative, and I think everyone on set could agree to that. And so I think with the help of all of our directors, the showrunners, there are our writers. I mean, everybody had a huge influence on that, and the crew was helpful and supportive with all of it too. There's a lot of sex in our show and things like that too, and having great intimacy coordinator, Casey, I think having all of those parts of it, I think it's integral to really making it a great, fun, playful, devious, collaborative show that I think viewers are really going to be excited to see.
Yeah. And to add on that, if I can really quickly, just because I said this so many times while we were filming, but like, I just really trusted that they had our backs, like, and I mean, like their attention to detail, it was like unmatched.
Unmatched.
I mean, even down to like Caroline's monogrammed towels in her bathroom, like everything. They just knew they had a vision and they knew what they wanted, and like they also were not afraid to tell us like if we weren't getting what they wanted from the scene. Like they knew what they wanted. So I always felt like if we moved on from the scene, that means they're happy and they got what they felt was right for the story. And so they gave me a lot of confidence just playing the part and working with everyone.
That's so great. Well, congratulations to all of you on such a wonderful season. I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for talking about it. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.